Mika, what are we doing tonight? What we do every night. We're going to work on the Vette. The Vette is getting a P3 gauge. I really love the P3 gauges. I put this in on my Volkswagen. It's great. Gives you a secondary readout on the side of the vent. So that way you can set it up to do your boost, your ethanol, whatever really interests you. There are so many options with these gauges and what they allow for. And if you don't want to trust that digital age of technology, you can actually buy another attachment that attaches to this gauge so you can do an analog readout of boost, which is great. So if you're like me and you just purchased this, let's show you how to take apart the dash, because holy smokes, this is going to be quite the procedure. The first thing you need to do, not that, that's going to remote start my car. You want to click and hold the trunk. Why? We're going to have to disconnect the battery soon. But first, we have a couple things we have to do. First, pop your trunk open and leave it open. The next thing I would recommend doing, we're going to have to put the vehicle in neutral. So chuck your back wheel, at least one of them. If you want, do both, but at least chuck one, so that way your car isn't going to roll away. Doesn't matter if you're on a hill or not. You might try to push back or something to get out of the car and actually end up hurting yourself or your car. Go ahead, pop this. Once you hop into your vehicle, go ahead, hold the button for 5 seconds. This will put it in like a service mode. It's going to start dinging a lot. I apologize. Let's get in the car already. Make sure your windows are rolled down. You will not have access to them afterwards. Make sure you've put it in unlock. After you've done that, take this. If you want, just make sure parking brake is on. Oh, I just released it. Now the parking brakes are engaged. Now that the parking brakes are engaged, go ahead, shift it into neutral. From there, you can let off the brake and hit here and make all the beeping stop. Oh, it wants you to shift into park, but we don't want to do that. So either way, if you want to, go ahead, leave it like this, which is fine. The reason why I'm saying this is because even if this doesn't turn off, we need to pull the battery off with this like this without wanting to make our vehicle angry because we disconnected switches. Well, there's power running to the vehicle. So go ahead, close your door so it stops beeping, and let's go pull the negative off the battery. Get your finger underneath here and just pop this up a little bit. And you can start to work just like this, a little bit out. What you need to do, get in right there with a 10 mil, and we're gonna loosen it so that way we can slide that off. So we got our 10 mil on here. I'm gonna make sure she works. Right here, go ahead, slide that on. Yeah, it's a 10 mil, go ahead. Righty tighty, lefty loosey, make sure you loosen it. Get that nice and loose. Again, you don't really have to worry. This is your negative side of things. Just like that. And then from there, what you want to do is take this. If you want, you can put something in between it, but you just don't want this to reconnect while we're doing this. So what I would highly suggest you end up doing, putting a paper towel or putting a piece of cardboard and just separating it from there, so that way we can work on this without that touching. If at any point you accidentally close your door, see this handle right here? You go and reach underneath and you pull up and you can release the door to open it. Super important just in case. Right here, grab up, pull up. Just like that. And then when you get over here, just tuck it a little bit towards you, making sure there's nothing right there. Yep, just pull it just like that. Put this off to the side so she don't get scratched up. Last little piece, this is already half out. You can just go ahead and just work it out with your fingers. Just pop forward just like that. Again, plastic clips, leave it off to the side. Why? All for this one little screw right here. There's also gonna be two right underneath here. I'm gonna show you exactly where they are. Might as well pull the first screw first, just a 7 mil. After you pull this one out, this one to be a dirty shot. You're gonna go right up under here. See right there? There's one right here. There's one right there. Take them both out. Now that we have those 3 screws out, don't touch the panel. Leave it for right now. Come up here, pop this open. See these 3 T15s? Grab yourself a Torx driver, take them out. The screws are out, just do this, give it a wiggle. It pops off. You can even leave that face down just like that. Take these 3 screws and put them in the safety, and remember which ones you pulled out by putting them in their own separate section. It's always good to do that. You can even mark it with electrical tape, or actually, well, you can't write on that. Do painter's tape, the green stuff. From here, now we're gonna need our panel popping tools. From here, it's pretty easy. You can just go ahead and take something like this, and we need to pop the clips that are right here. Pretty easy. Just feel for them. There's only one tricky one, and it's at the very end. Yeah, we can just do this pretty much. Perfect. At the very end, you can see there's that little hook there. Make sure you don't break the little hook. So pop, 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 and then slide out. Mine just kind of automatically did it. If you want to keep this safe, not scratch anything up, put it against the softness of your trunk, or leave it up like this. This one could be a little bit troublesome for me to show you, but you should be able to. Just go ahead and do this. There. Let's see, can I continue to show you with my fingers? Oh, yes, just like so. See, just kind of comes out that easy, I swear. Now that we've got that out, we're gonna have to pop out all these tabs down here. Now, to do so, a lot of these are going to be compression tabs. Let's take a look if I can show you what that means. Means that there is a ducktail on them. Right there, see this? Pinch right here. Just pinches, comes out. This one will probably be the same. Yep, another pinch tab. Again, pinch it, and then comes out. Make sure you keep track of how many tabs you disconnect. You might be, well, Rich, why? Why do I have to know exactly how many tabs I'm popping out? Well, so that way you know how many go back in, because if you forget to pop one of these in, you're taking apart the whole darn console again, which really sucks. And look, I've got some pollen in here. I guess I'll be sucking that out, and we'll see if we have any other surprises up in here. So this is under that console after you do the connectors. See this little black tab by my finger? You wanna flex it towards the leather boot and push up. Not much, just a little bit. And if you do that, it should pop up. Once the shift boot pops out the center, go like this. Put the longest end down into the corner and take this and twist this end up like this. And what you wanna do is feed that shift boot through here like that, so it makes it to the other side. And then once we start doing that, I'm actually gonna go to the other side and pull it. Once you get that corner down, now it's just working this out. You wanna make sure, if you can, those tabs slip out underneath, and just like that. See how it's clearing? Perfect, just like that. Again. And look, there's another one. Another duck tab. See that gray tab on there? See how there's that duck tab? Press down on it and then slide it out. Next, this little cover right here, go ahead. Whether you put that in there or this, just need this out of here. Again, couple more, and look at that. Now that that little cover's off, go ahead, put the T25 in here and take these out. That is different than the T15s, so remember that. Once you've gone ahead and done that, take your fingers again. Look at that. This comes out all the way up and around here. And let's see, can I get the last one there? And it goes up farther, but before we do that, gotta get this side too. There you go. Once you get that off, go ahead, protect it. And put it in the rear. I'm gonna just fold this up like this for a sec so I can put this down safely. Rather than show you how to undo every 7mm in this car, let's make it easy. 7mm, take out this one, 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 and then this one, this one. There should be one more actually right here. I don't know if that one out, but I'll still take it out. That one and that one. If we take those out, we should be able to pop this whole thing out. When you're taking the two off the top, you're gonna need to be able to get it up there with this. I mean, one thing I'm gonna tell you, feel the tightness of these screws. You are not going to be going ham when you do them. So please, whatever you do, if you pick up anything from this, pick up the consistency of these screws so you don't strip any of these out when putting them back in. Now that we got all those bolts out, reach over here, grab this and pop it back. Keep popping. Another screw right here, go ahead and take that one out. Right here above the steering wheel. go ahead, pop this out. Just lifts out. Once that screws out, this should just literally pretty much lift out. Should be easy enough. Make sure these speed clips stay in here during the process, because if you lose one of these and you start snapping it all together, you'll have to pop it off to make sure this sits. If one falls out, like this one feels pretty loose, just squeeze it with a pair of pliers and slide it back on and it'll hold on a little tighter, because these do get loose over time and drives you nuts, trust me. Now that we've got all of this cleared out, let's go ahead and hop back down here. Now that we've got a whole bunch of things out of the way, this one section will be easier. Reach right here and pull forward. Do the same to this side. And just pop it forward. There. You'll see wiring connector, yay. Now this one, unlike your other ones, actually lifts. For this one, you need a hook pick. Watch this. See how I slipped underneath and lifted it? Now I put my hook pick down and this wiggles out. Now, if you have any other buttons in here, make sure you release those too. Again, go put this somewhere safe. Both sides of the steering wheel, one will be here and one will be just over here. Well, let's go ahead. Just start here, pop forward, pop forward, pop forward. We'll just get all the way around here first. Okay, that's loose. We've just got one more that seems to be gripping right here. I'm pulling this out because I find it's easier for wrapping your fingers around the other side of the dash and getting around back there. Now, yes, this will be fun to put back in, but to tell you the truth, it's just gonna give you more areas to access back there. So I highly suggest you pop out these 4 screws in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and pull out the kick bar right here. See that last tab up there? The reason why I told you to remove the kick bar earlier is because right there, that tab is really fun. And I didn't like how much stress you have to put on the dash to make it pop. It made it feel like you're gonna snap the screen. So now that this is free like this, if that one's giving you trouble, you can compress it or simply pull on it and the whole dash will come forward. The other reason why I showed you that is, well, I'm not gonna be able to do it with my hand because it's gonna be right in the way. That's a compression tab. If you look right there, I'll show you once I pop it out and I have it out. So it's off to the side near the climate controls. Again, all you have to do is compress and slide out. For some easier ones, right from the side here, I can show you. Compress, pull out. Just tuck it back in. The one a little farther up, right there, it's another side one. Can't really show you, see right there? Compress, just like you did to the other switch, and wiggle it out. Just like that. Okay, that one's out. And last but not least, the one up top right here, on this side anyway, just this one, the tab's actually facing your vent right here. So compress again, wiggle, and it's out. All right, not too bad. Remember where they are because, well, they'll be fun. Remember the orientation. Next ones are for over here. See where this big bundle of white wires are? See how my finger's on top? Again, it's a compression switch. Once again with a duct tap. Press down and pull out. I think it's funny how they chose all different orientations for this. This one, it's from the bottom. Compress for the hazards and wiggle. From here, coming at you, lift up slowly, monitoring that you aren't going to touch your screen, and just lift right out. See how I'm coming up on an angle? And come out right here, just like that. Bring this out of the car. And look at that. The dash is out. Cross your legs if you want. Lie your dash on your pants. Make sure you have no keys or anything in your pockets and there's nothing silver or anything that's going to scratch it. Anyways, go ahead, bend this towards you and pull back. If you bend it towards you and pull back, there's a secondary right there. Next one, do the same thing. You see it slipping forward. Now come over to this side. Again, see if I can show you. Pulling back with your finger away from it. You should be able to pry this up, slip that out, and there should only be one left, from which you will need probably a hook pick. Let's see if I can grab my hook pick. And you'll just take this hook pick and put that one against this, and look at that, we're free. Ta-da! Again, you're just folding those clips from here away from those little, I wonder if you can see it. Actually, you can right there. It's locked in right here. So you're folding them away from the barb so you can slowly slip it out. You could use a hook pick for all of them, but we only need this one. This is my third time doing this, trying to keep this in focus for you. Watch this. Hooked around the back. After you do that, you should be able to pull this forward. This will come out like this. Next thing to do, we're gonna see how I'm flexing this? You got these tabs, flex them in, and you can pull this out. Careful, we don't want them all to pop out. We need to pop out just these two bottom ones. Let's put this down on the ground for a sec. Not too bad, right? You literally just get your hook pick around, hook it out. It's a super easy process. Now this I need to stress. Keep your hand here with a little bit of tension, then with your thumb, flex up on here. By doing so, it's gonna allow you to only remove the two that you need to remove. And that way you can keep pressure right here. The next thing you need to do is just simply pop these out of the track they're in. Once you pop them out, they should just slide right out of the track. See? It's out of the track, and then should be able to just squeeze it out like that. Next one. Again, we're not ever going to use these again. I'm not too worried. Just like that. Pop them out. Now that we've popped them out, go get your P3 because we're going to stick it in here. Make sure you straighten the fins. After you do so, you'll see two actually lock in on that side. So lock those two in and then sink this side in. And just watch out if you're compressing it like I am. I always compress just because the last thing I want is this to pop forward. Okay, we're locked in. Just like that. Take your peely off. You don't want it to go in and not be able to peel it off. Now that we've got that off, this is a little extra step I like to take. You do not have to do this in this exact corner right here. Right flush with this. Don't cut into here, but right here, go ahead and just snip a little bit back there and a little bit back here. And then go ahead, bend this up or down and cut just that little square piece out a little bit. Like we're talking like an eighth. Add a dramatic effect. Go ahead and use a little bit of a file if you have one, just to deburr and keep the plastic out. I'd say that's a success. See how it's just enough? Perfect. Now it can sit in there nice and flush. Let's go pop this back in. There are wires in the space that we made. Slide this up so it's on those two first, and then you can go ahead and make sure it lines up on those two. Slip up and it'll lock in like that. And just like I said, guide that wire. Double check, make sure those barbs are on the right side of the hooks as you're compressing it. Now that we've got that, we've got our wire here. Look at how good that looks already. Let's go pop this in and now leave that dangling. What I would do is feed this around and through here. See how it comes in around right here? All I did is I wrapped it around just this one piece. I literally just tucked it around here, pulled it taut, and then now it's over like this. I'm going to, that kicker plate, that's where I'm putting everything. Why? Because it's super easy to access. So if you ever have a defective module or you want to add stuff to the module, you're not pulling out the whole dash. So leave that over here. Again, when we sync it back, we'll do that. Now it's the important part. Plug in all the switches. Just start. Remember, there is this one right here, which just plugged in like that. And then that one stayed there, sorry. There's a black one that's right here. Plugs in into that connector right there. And then don't forget the little connector that plugs in to the dimmer right here. So go ahead and plug that one in. Fingers back there. Make sure that connector is still going through the hole and plugs into your engine start stop. Use my nose. Plugged it in. Right here. Make sure you plug in the main connector to everything on this panel. And then last but not least, make sure you plug in this connector into your airbag and hazards. There we go. Feel for any other connectors. I believe there's just 3 on each side. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. So go ahead, press, make sure she's all locked in, especially this one. This one was the worst. Pop in, she's sitting nice and flush. If you're not sitting flush, you've got something wrong. So we've gone ahead, everything is sitting nice and flush. There's no jiggliness to the dash. This is still moving up and down nice and freely, so we know that's good. Now is the extra fun part. Go and put in every one of these 10 mils after you put the trim back on. Oh, Richard. See? Make sure that flips in there. This one seats in here. Ta-da! It should just sit in there, and then the 10 mils hold it in. Next piece is this little piece. You can do that little screw first and then slide this on. Just don't forget it, because she sits right there. So you can put the first one in right here, but we also need that other little silver piece that goes right there. There we go. See how I'm doing this with just a couple fingers here? This is not structural. Do not go nuts. If you do, you're gonna cry when it snaps. Go ahead, line those little tabs up. This sits in the middle, and these should just sink in right here. As long as it lines up, you won't break anything. From here, go ahead, put all of these in. I'm not gonna show you how to put them all in, but just don't miss any. And make sure that silver piece is on. I just dropped it again. From here, if you were like me, go ahead and bolt that kick plate back in. Make sure it does not pinch this wire. All I did is I tucked this in through the arms right here. Just sitting right here on the floor for right now. We'll take care of that afterwards. Next thing you're gonna wanna do is don't forget this one connector. Make sure these 2 screws are in before we pop this on. You should only have 2 7 mils left and 3 of little T15s. So go ahead, grab that piece. Make sure you click in the switch on the way in and put the bolts in. Make sure you put this last 7 mil in. Tuck your floor mat, if you have floor mat there, around the plastic, so that way it doesn't get stuck in the plastic. From there, line up the first clip. It's in. And go ahead and bend these ones down and in. Quick tip for this one, sink it in first. Get it in there, and then from there, sink that in and that in. So that way, it'll sync up. See that back hook? And there's another one there. You need to line those up first. If you don't, it's going to be troublesome. So as you're lining the 2 back ones up, you line up the front ones down. And when you're squeezing them in, you have to kind of have your hands spread out like this, because you want to sink down everything at once in the center as you push back. You get this center portion in and everything else lines up. Trust me. But there's so many crisscross hooks and stuff going on here. If you don't make sure everything is lined up by having one hand here and one hand here when you slide in, you'll never line it up. Literally, you get that center lined up first. After you do that, everything's cakewalk. Slide that in, and then go ahead and wrap these around and pinch them in. After you get this all popped on, go ahead, slide this in. Go ahead with those 2 T25s and bolt them through the plastic into here. After you get those 2 T25s in, go ahead, line this up, and then you've got your little mini piece here, and that just comes on right here. Put your cigarette lighter back in. Before we put in these 2 back connectors, have them ready, yes, but I would put and slide that in. Now remember, this back corner first, that comes out last, the long one. Once you get to that point where it's seated, you can go ahead and, like I said, start plugging these last 2 connectors in back here. 3 in total. So 1 there and 1 more right here. From this point, you just have this. There you go. Seat it in. Ta-da! Heck, if you want to, you can shift it back in. Piece here, make sure you put that hook in first. Goes in the far end. You'll have to kind of flex it, the front end in, and then click it all in. No way I was gonna be able to show you. You have to press while sliding the hook in. Once the hook is in, start clicking immediately all the way back. Just kind of like what you did up here. I still think this one was harder than doing this piece. All right, hold your last cover right here and bolt in the 3 T15s. Make sure it's flipped up. Slide your negative back on, and then while holding it down, tighten it nice and tight. A trick I found is if you push up on the center of the carpet, you can tuck it back in all the way around, depending on how yours sits. Plug in the LAN cable. And struggle like I am apparently to do simple tasks. And then go ahead and plug that end in because I'm not even gonna attempt it. Now that you got those ends plugged in, go ahead and take this one, make sure it lines up, just goes just like this, and sink it on. One option I do actually like, which I kind of wish I would have ordered, but I didn't. They sell another pigtail now that allows for a OBD2 extra port right beside it. That would have been sweet because then you can just plug stuff in. All right, you're looking at the bottom of your dash. Check this out. There's this big wiring harness right here. I zap strapped the module to it and cleaned up the wiring. I left this bow in here because it's zap strapped, but it's not crimping it. The last thing you want to do is crimp this and it break the connection. So I'm just going to tuck that up and in underneath this. I brought the OBD2 wire up and over the hood release cables, put it up and through the wiring harness, and then plugged in and keeps it up nice and tight. Next thing to do is push this back up. So just lock that in to right here and then sink it back up into the clips. Look at that, everything looks nice, clean, and back together, and the new piece is installed. Let's go ahead, brake, start it up, and look at that, instantly she loads up. Let's show you some cool stuff. As you can see, we're on boost right now. You can go on through here, coolant, speed, battery, TP shift. So let's just go through past this. Chances are if you bought this gauge, you already know what you got with it. Let's say if something wasn't working properly, what would you do? Well, one, if it popped up with the trouble code, good thing to note is you would click and hold and it would clear it. Just something for you to know. Now, if you want to do any advanced configuration, you click and hold both these buttons. Release when it says configure, and these are all your different settings you can set. Those 2A settings are for analog wires. We didn't hook any up, so there's no point me going too much into that. BP, this is boost. It's wondering if you want it in PSI or another configuration. It's completely up to you. So PR 0.1, this is for your boost percentages and stuff. You know when it popped up there with boost and it had the 0.1, 0.2? If you don't want it to do that, just round it up or round it down, you'd switch this to 0.5 by hitting that button right there, the left-hand button. Me personally, I like it at 0.1. You can round up if you want to. I'm not going to bother. If we click here, this is your shift light. So if you have a manual, go ahead and you can set this. This is at 8,000 RPM. If you click hitting that button, it'll keep on going up, 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 up until it goes down to 0, and you can set where you want this thing to blink like crazy to shift, if you want that. This is your degrees. As you can see, I have mine on Celsius because I'm Canadian. This is your speed. You can adjust your speed gauge to be in miles per hour or in kilometers. If it says Y, that is for miles per hour. If it says N, then it is in kilometers per hour. So I leave this on miles per hour because I'm Canadian, and when I go over to the States, I can flick this on and it'll automatically switch over to miles per hour. Or sorry, it'll already be on miles per hour rather than kilometers. Speed sensor, you can calibrate it to be up or down depending on if you change your tire size and your gauges are off. D is for dimming, so you can set this on, or there's a couple more options. I would just leave it on. This one right here is your power for your switch. So you can either have it like I do, auto, so as soon as it senses that the RPM is hit, it turns your gauge on. What you can also do is, once again, if you hit this button, it goes to the next setting, which will turn on the gauge when you only hit the left button. That's the only way you're going to get the gauge to come on. It won't fire up with the car. And if you go to the last one, which is an S setting, so I think this switches to an S, what'll end up happening is it goes to a switched wire on it. Again, what I'm going to do for people that want to do more advanced stuff is in the description below. I'm going to post a video to something a little bit more in depth. This is what you want to leave it on, OBD2. If you switch this, then it will do all analog readings, and you don't want that. CC is your car's programming, or what it's calibrated to for the car. For the Corvette here, we have to have it on L because, well, it's an LS engine, or LT in this case, but that is the reading calibration for this motor. This is actually usually default to, I think it's A, but because it picks up that we have our GM ECU in the Corvette, it switched to an L. If yours isn't an L and yours isn't reading sensors properly and you're in a Corvette, go ahead and switch this one to L just by hitting the left button until it's on L. This one I wouldn't bother messing with. This is, again, a little bit more in depth. This is for if you're hooking up multiple gauges. AFR is your air fuel ratio setting. A is your standard. Most people are going to want this, but if you want Lambert, then you would go ahead and hit there and it would switch to Lambert. You aren't going to care if you don't know what I'm talking about. Calibration, this is for the boost sensor calibration. Most of you probably aren't running a manual boost tap, but if you have, go ahead and calibrate that up. And this is factory reset, which we don't want to do to this gauge. So we would just go ahead and click away from that. If you do want to, click and hold the left button until it factory resets. And last but not least, DTC. So once again, if you want to read your DTCs, you can go ahead, click, and then when you click and hold, it should read your DTCs and it'll tell you which ones they are. If you click and hold, it should reset it. Again, what I love about these gauges is if you start your vehicle and there is a code that's stored, or permanent code, it will pop up and read it out on the gauge, and you just have to look up the P code that's popping up. It's not going to tell you exactly what it is. It's up to you to look up the P code. At the very end, click and hold this button. On the right, it'll restart the gauge with all your settings that you've adjusted, and look at that. We're back and we're in 64 degrees Celsius and everything is back to normal. But that's all there is to it. I hope that this kind of gave you a run through. Again, there's going to be a couple videos and stuff that I put in here. I will have a link to, of course, to get the product, and the second one that I'll end up having is a link to another video on YouTube from them on how to go more in depth on programming this. This was just me really quickly running through it for you, so that way you can see what's going on. Anyways, I hope this video helped you out. Press a like if it did, subscribe for more. Thanks again, P3, for sending me one of these gauges, and I loved setting it up. Again, I willingly paid for one because of the fact that I put one in the GTI and it was a lifesaver on more than one occasion. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day. Press a like if it helped you out. Subscribe for more.